OpenClaw just got a brand new update, and this one is a game changer. You can now run what's called Mission Control, basically a command center where you can see all your AI agents working at the same time in one place, doing different jobs for you, all on autopilot. Think of it like being an orchestrator, and you're managing these little AI workers, these AI agents working together. And the best part is the whole thing is completely free to set up. Today, we're going to be running through it together and step by step. By the end of this video, you have your own mission control up and running with Kanban boards to track tasks, agents talking to each other, and you sitting back and watching it all happen. Let's get straight into it. So the update that we're looking at here is the GitHub project OpenClaw Mission Control. Now you can actually build your own, and I'll come on to exactly how you can do that later inside this video. But you can see here, Open Mission Control is a centralized operations and governance platform for running OpenClaw across teams and organizations, right? So you can have like multiple different gateways, even multiple different OpenClaws working together. And then you can see you've got this Mission Control app where you can basically have a Kanban board of agents. You know, you've got this inbox here, in progress, review, done, etc. A skills marketplace as well that you can actually connect to this. It actually looks at the different skills you can install. You can have packs, you can have tags, etc. Boards as well, so you can look at which boards are working on, what lead agents are working on, etc. And basically, it's designed to be like the day-to-day operation surface for OpenClaw, right? So instead of splitting work across multiple tools, teams can work, plan, review, and audit activity in one place. Now, some examples of what you could do with this: you could do work orchestration, so you could manage organizations, board groups, boards, tasks, and tags. You could do agent operations, so create, inspect, and manage agent lifecycle. You've got approvals and that sort of thing. You've got gateway management, and then you also got activity visibility and API first models as well, right? And then you might be thinking, okay, why would you actually use this? Well, multi-team operations is the main thing, right? So you can run multiple boards and board groups across organizations from a single place. You also got human in the loop stuff, so anything that requires approval before it runs. You got distributed runtime control, so you can connect multiple gateways together. You can audit and look at different activities, and then you've got API backend integration as well, right? So you can see an example of it up and running for me here. I would just need to connect my gateway inside the gateway section here. But you can see that we can flick between like gateways, agents, organization. We've also got, for example, like packs, marketplace, like these packs as well. You can just sync to your OpenClaw in like one click as well. And then you've got approvals, tags. So these are like tasks waiting for approval. Custom fields, you can add your own custom fields there. You can add tasks to different tasks. You can create your own boards. So you can create different boards here. And then you select the gateway that you have the board for. You've got board groups, a live feed of what's being done, and the dashboard itself. Now, if you want to set this up yourself, you can basically do it like this. So you can set it up like this if you've cloned the repo already. So you can go copy this, run it in your terminal, and then install SH. You can also use it with Docker as well. And then you've also got, for example, the manual setup options here. Now, one thing you can do if you just want an easy way to run this is you could ask OpenClaw to set up for you, or what you could even do is just run this inside Claude Code, get Claude Code to sync it with your OpenClaw as well. But it was fairly time consuming to get it up and running, but it is very powerful. So it's like, it's one of those things where if you really are running a lot of tasks, a lot of different agents together, then it's probably worth the work involved to get it set up. And it is a really cool idea as well, to be fair. You can also try building your own as well. So let me give you an example of that. And I'll show you how that works. So, for example, and this is like MVP, very, very early stages, right? And even this took a lot of work, to be honest, to set up. But basically, this is the mission control for Julian Claw, which is my OpenClaw running in Telegram right now. And then you can see we've got like a Kanban board of like what's in the backlog, what's in progress, what's in review, and what's done, right? Now, this is not using the GitHub project. This is actually just one that I created myself. I can show you an example of how we created it, but you've got a couple of different options right there. So you could either run the GitHub here, which is like, you know, clean out of the box, looks pretty nice, etc. Or the other option that you have is you can create your own and run it as well, right? And you can see this is running locally here, and then for OpenClaw Mission Control on the dashboard. We can switch between different organizations as well, but we've got this running at a local host as well, right? And this is running inside terminal. So the way that we created our own sort of mission control, let me show you an example of that, is actually using OpenClaw directly, right? But the only thing I would say is like it really struggled to create a nice UI. Now that might be down to, for example, the API that I'm using. It might be, for example, because I'm using ChatGPT codecs with the API, etc. But when when I kept saying like this does not look good to OpenClaw, and it really struggled with creating something nice on that, to be honest. And it took about, I would say it took about like 30 minutes to get it set up. You know, let me show you an example of what it looked like in the progression there. So, for example, I said, "Are you able to build a mission control panel like this now, please?" And I pasted in a screenshot from someone else that I saw had created something nice. It was like on it, doing that over here. Then it started using Claude Code to set it up, and it created this, as you can see. And it gave a breakdown of what it's doing, but actually, when you looked at it, this was the first task that it gave. So don't expect it to be like perfect first time around. This is what it gave me back, and you can see like super basic, barely even works. Then it gave me that, and it slowly progressed, right? But you can see this was at like 6:03, and when did we start building this? Yeah, we started at so we started at 5:30. 30 minutes later, it created this. By 6:04, it created this. So it took 35 minutes just to create something super basic like that. And then it took about an hour just to create this mission control tab here, which I honestly am not 100% happy with, but it does show the tasks that OpenClaw is working in real time. And you can just keep building on that, right? So I don't think it's something you're going to build in one morning, unless you just want a basic dashboard like this, and then you go back and forth with it, as you can see. So that's basically how it works. You've got a live feed of tasks over here. You've got the Kanban board. But I much prefer this more polished version. It just looks a lot nicer, right? Like it looks way nicer. It's obviously had a lot of work from a lot of different people, and you can see how it works right here. So I'd recommend going with that. Now you might be thinking, okay, like why would you do this? Why would you want to do it, etc. Well, the thing is, right? It's like a personal dashboard built using AI, using OpenClaw that centralizes all the stuff you're working on in one visual real-time command center, right? And so basically, instead of being like in reactive mode, or instead of having all your tasks in the chat, you can actually create something that looks super nice, is easy to maintain, easy to manage. And then you could, for example, have like a project Kanban board like I built previously. You could have a client pipeline build tracker if you're an agency, for example. You could have a daily priority queue. So for example, you could say to OpenClaw, give me 3 tasks that you think would help my business. And then it gives you those 3 tasks on the actual dashboard. Could be like a production board, it could be a team task hub, it could be an automation health tracker, etc. Right? And I've actually got a 30-day plan inside the AI Profit Boardroom for stuff that you could build out step by step. As I said, it takes about an hour just to build like a basic MVP of your own mission control like this. So if you want to create something really complex, I would say it's going to take about 30 days. But what you can see here is that we've got prompts for every single day. So you could, for example, add like a lead tracker. You could add your own daily review widget. You could connect this to other APIs externally, right? And there's all sorts of stuff. It could even be like a team accountability board, right? And it's like for your whole agency, for example. But yeah, this is pretty cool. What do you think of developing a plugin that automatically switches between free models depending on the task and has multiple free models handling singular prompts? So I actually built that previously. You can actually check that out inside the courses that I have inside the AI Profit Boarding. But what you can instruct OpenClaw to do is use different sub-agents for smaller tasks, right? So for example, you could have Claude as a brain that sits at the top, or you could have ChatGPT Codex as a brain at the top. And then when you want to use like free local APIs, you can connect that inside the setup of OpenClaw. So when you run the daemon inside terminal, you can set up multiple different APIs have all of them connected to OpenClaw. So, for example, it could be like Minimax. It could be, for example, even like Gemma 3B for basic tasks. It could be, for example, Kimi K 2.5 with Olama Cloud, right? All these different APIs that you add. And then you say to Clawbot, okay, each time that you do a task, create a sub agent, delegate that task to a cheaper API, and then that way you can like save costs or use free APIs for different tasks. So that's the way that I did it previously. Would recommend that method. That worked really well. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. So if you go back to the plan here, this is the 30-day plan. You could even, for example, build like a repurposing content tracker inside the dashboard as well, and just build out something new for your mission control each day. It doesn't have to be like all built in one day. You know, it could be something that you work on daily. Right? Now, some people say I'm not technical enough to build my own dashboard for OpenClaw. Honestly, if you can describe it, you can build it, right? You just have to be prepared to be patient. So, for example, here, I just gave it examples of what I want to add, etc., and then it went off and built it, right? And the cool thing is, OpenClaw operates and creates the code itself for its own tasks, which means that OpenClaw and your mission control are synced. But also, you can just describe stuff in plain English, and then you're good to go, right? Also, some people say, well, building a dashboard takes weeks. Honestly, like this dashboard that we built, which is again super basic, but you get the idea of like how you could build on this and improve it every day. This was built in the space of an hour, as I've already shown you. So, you know, it doesn't take weeks to build. It's something you can build like in one afternoon, for example. It's just something that you would keep continuing to improve every single day as well, right? So the new empowering belief really is like you can build your entire business operating system for this OpenClaw mission control dashboard. It's just going to take a bit of work. It's going to take like regular improvements, or you can just take something like this straight out the box, install it. There are like multiple different GitHub mission control options that you can install. This is the one that I looked at because it seemed like the most legit. I think you got to be careful which ones you install, you know, what skills you connect directly to your Claw Hub as well. But yeah, that's basically how it works. You can find the Docker install command. Nice. What is better, NA10? Well, I mean, like I honestly, I don't use like NA10 anymore, to be honest. So like, I don't really use those like manual agent builders anymore, simply because, you know, you've got stuff like Claude Code, you've got stuff like OpenClaw. You don't need to mess around with NA10 or anything like that anymore, because most of the automations that you want to build are much faster to build with something like Claude Code instead. Akash says, how to install OpenClaw on my Windows using Docker. So honestly, I don't have a Windows computer. So like the way that I would probably do it and attempt it, I know that it's pretty hard to, I mean, there's a few options, right? Number one, you've got, for example, you've got Maltworker that works with Docker, and you can install that in the cloud, and then that can run with Windows or Mac. It's quite a secure way to build it out as well. We actually got a training inside the AI Profit Board on how to set that up with a full guide. You can see it right here. A link in the comment description will go to arprofitboarding.com, and that's probably the way that I would set it up on Windows. I know that Windows can be quite tricky to set up OpenClaw. I've seen a lot of comments on YouTube about that. So that's the way that I would set it up. It runs with Docker directly. And then also, for example, you could, if you were struggling with the setup with Windows, you could always go to something like Kimi.com. Kimi have a Kimi Claw, which is something that we set up previously. And you can set up Kimi Claw with kind of like its own OpenClaw setup. That's one option. The other option that you have as well is Manus is pretty cool for this. Like honestly, out of all these, Manus has been like the best and the most reliable. If I show you an example of what we've done with Manus, for example, you can go inside the agent section here, and you can quickly connect this with Telegram just by scanning a QR code. And then once you've done, that will run with Windows because it's running in the cloud. It's pretty easy to set up, super chill. And you can see an example of like how it can quickly create videos or images. It can build out websites like you see right here. It actually built out an app, a Pomodoro app, really quickly. And so if you want an alternative to setting up OpenClaw, and you know maybe you're struggling with terminal or that sort of thing using OpenClaw on Windows, you can always use KimiClaw or Manus or Maltworker. Those are the options that I would look at personally. So other people will say, well, I already have project management tools. I don't need another one. The thing is, like, it's really difficult to see inside OpenClaw what it's doing directly, right? And the thing is as well, like, you've got all these tasks that are running, all these sub agents, all these scheduled tasks. And the more you use OpenClaw and the more you build with it, the more complex it becomes, right? So if you don't have a mission control set up, then you don't really have a system. You just have a kind of chatbot that's very messy and lots of stuff going on. Also, other people say, I don't have time to set this up. Honestly, I don't think you have time not to set this up. Bear in mind as well, in Telegram, when we were setting this up, like literally, I would give it a command, it would go off for 10 minutes, give me something new, and then, you're not really spending a lot of time in it. You're just giving it one command like every 10 minutes to keep improving that, right? Honestly, I don't think you have time not to set this up. So that's the way that I would look at it. I've shown you how to set up OpenClaw today with Mission Control. There's two options. You can build your own, or you can use a GitHub extension sort of straight out of the box. I've shown you how to set up. We've talked about the limiting beliefs. I've also got 100 different prompts that you could try for building out your own mission control system. So you can see, for example, dashboard design prompts. You've got, for example, automation and NA10 workflow prompts. All sorts of prompts just for improving your mission control and just making it a lot better. All right. So just to recap here, everything we've covered today, we've covered the mission control system, which is a personalized AI built dashboard that centralizes every part of your OpenClaw operation into one screen. You can build it with OpenClaw. The framework just gives you clarity on projects, clients, content, team tasks, automations, and even your own personal productivity in one single interface. In terms of the 30-day plan, I would build your dashboard foundation in week 1. So the Kanban boards, the client pipeline, the content board, the team hub. And then in week 2, you can start connecting automations. Week 3, you can personalize it and scale it. And then week 4, you've basically got your full automation with morning briefs, launch countdowns, trackers, business audits, etc. Right? And we've talked about limiting beliefs as well. So if you're not technical enough, don't worry. You just need to describe it. The AI builds it. If you're wondering, okay, like, how much does it cost? Well, you can use a free GitHub extension if you want to, and then it's free to use, right? If you're too busy to set up, well, honestly, I don't think you have time not to set up because it's going to save you a lot of time in the long run. And also, if you already have your own project management tools, they're not really connected to OpenClaw, so it's not as useful, right? But yeah, that's basically how it goes. So if you want to get Wendy says, hello, I would like to know how I can have someone or an engineer help me set up the marketing ecosystem. So if you want to get all my best playbooks for marketing, you can get that inside the AI Profit Boardroom. We give you all the playbooks, all the dashboards, etc. For example, like automating X or Shorts or Instagram or AI avatar videos. These are all ways that I use AI and leverage it to market myself. And these playbooks are all inside the AI Profit Boardroom. This is my community with 2,400 members. You can see there's always people online. And the goal here is just to help you save time, automate your business, and learn and grow together in an amazing community, right? So inside here, you can ask questions. You can join our daily accountability group. And this just helps you avoid information overload, helps you stay focused, helps you avoid shiny object syndrome. And now, for example, you can also jump on video calls 4 times a week. So you can jump on coaching calls, meet the community, ask questions in real time, even share your screen if you're struggling with anything. And inside the classroom here, you get all of my best trainings, for example, like how to go from beginner to expert with AI automation and how to build your first AI agent in under 5 minutes. You also learn, for example, all of my best trainings on OpenClaw. So for example, we actually update this daily with new interesting automations. So we had new guides, as you can see, 20th, 1st of Feb, 20th of Feb, 19th of February, etc. We're always updating this and adding new interesting automations that you can try yourself based on what I think is the best and the most useful. We've also got a full 6-hour course on OpenClaw inside here too. And if you want to get more clients for your agency, you can check that out right here. If you want to watch about the coaching calls, you can watch them here. If you want to learn how to rank number 1 with AICO, we've got a full section there. And then also we've got a full roadmap on how to use YouTube as well to grow based on what's working for me. If you want to see our results with SEO since using OpenClaw, you can see that we went from like 18 clicks a day all the way up to a peak of like 780 clicks a day using SEO, as you can see. So yeah, Claw Hub is really good for SEO as well. And we've got a full section right here. So feel free to get that link in the comments description, or just go to the AIprofitboredom.com. Do you have any personal favorite mission controls on GitHub? Yeah, so the one that I like the most, or that I've tested, is OpenClaw Mission Control. This is a really good GitHub, as you can see. You can check that out. That's one that I've tested. Again, like, just be careful when you install this. Check all the files yourself. And if you're not sure, don't install it. You can always just watch my videos and learn from them. You don't have to test anything yourself. And then Guy says, how often do you update OpenClaw given all the recent improvements? So I actually update it daily. Like, I literally watch out on Twitter and X for the latest updates from OpenClaw. And then as soon as I see a new one, I'm like, boom, let's get that updated. Right. And I'll just ask inside Telegram, can you update this? One thing to be careful of, if you're constantly updating OpenClaw, is like sometimes the gateways stop working and that sort of thing. So you do have to be careful with that. For example, like yesterday, I had to uninstall, then reinstall OpenClaw to get it working again with the latest update. So that's just something to be careful of there. So thanks for watching. NotebookLM just dropped a massive update, and if you've been sleeping on this tool, now is the time to wake up. You can create full presentations like actual slideshows directly inside NotebookLM, and now edit them with AI just by typing what you want to change. You don't need any design skills. You don't need any technical skills. There's no worrying about PowerPoint anymore. You just tell it what you want, and it builds it for you. Today, we are going to run through this whole thing together. I'm going to show you how the new update works, how to make your first AI-generated presentation, and how to customize it so it actually looks the way that you want it. This is one of those updates that makes you go, wait, why didn't this exist sooner? So let's check this out. You can see the update announcement that literally just rolled out right here. So it's available to all users right now, which means that it's free, which is great. And then there's another update now as well, where you can actually customize video overviews inside the NotebookLM app as well. So there's two different updates right here. There's the slideshow update, and there's also the presentation update as well. Now, the slideshows were already really cool with NotebookLM, if you haven't checked that out already, but just being able to customize them a lot more makes it 10 times better, right? So for example, here we can go to this slideshow on the right-hand side. If you've never used NotebookLM before, don't worry. So what you can do is you can just go to create your own notebook here. You plug in the research and all the sources that you want to add. And then once you've done that, you can have something that looks like this, and you can just edit and insert a slide deck automatically using this, right? Now, the interesting thing about this is once you've done that, there may be things that you want to change or improve, right? So how do you do that? Well, what you'll see in the top right now is there's a new button called Revise, right? Revise in the top right. And this is how you can edit the presentations that you create, right? So if you want to change something on the particular page, you can just do it right here. So if we click on Revise, we can change it how we want to. We could, for example, say, okay, change the colors to, and then just insert your own brand colors. You could, for example, say, make it look cleaner, plus more modern, plus beautiful. And then you could say, just have one headline direct response style that makes people want to keep reading, right? Something like that. And then from here, you've got the pending changes, right? And you can actually go through the slides and just add your changes like this, right? And once you've done that, you just click on generate new deck, and that will begin to start generate the slide deck revision, right? So it's pretty easy and simple to do this. And then you just wait a few minutes for the new updates on the slide decks. The slide decks themselves actually look really cool. If you want to play them, you can click on Start Slideshow like this and just flick between them. You can get different styles. You can download them as a PDF, right? So if we open this tab up, we've now got this as a PDF, which is pretty cool. And this was all automated based on the sources that I plugged in, right? So when you're generating these slideshows, they look pretty nice, they're clean, they're easy to use, etc. And you've got them ready to go like this, right? Now you can also generate audio views, slide decks, video views, mind maps, reports, flashcards, quizzes, infographics, data tables, and even like blog posts and that sort of thing using NotebookLM. So it is a really powerful tool, and you can use a lot of these features for free. We've got one comment that says amazing. I would agree. And yeah, it's really cool. I mean, like, let's say, for example, you wanted to learn something new about OpenClaw. Maybe you're interested in that, right? Well, you could create a new notebook like this. You can type in the topic that you want to use. You can just select fast research or deep research. The difference between these is like you'll just get more sources with deep research, whereas with fast research, it's going to generate about 5 to 10 different sources, but it will do it really quickly using the web. Or you can use Google Drive as well, but I'd recommend the web. And then you can click enter like this. It will research a bunch of websites, and then you can automatically create a slideshow once that's generated. Okay, so you can see the sources have been added here. We can then just click import. That will import the new sources that NotebookLM has found for us, and then we can generate slideshows in a minute based on this, right? So you don't need to worry about PowerPoint anymore. You don't need to worry about editing, etc., right? And then from here, we can click on slide deck. We've got one question here that says, how can you tell if your viewers aren't just OpenClaw agents? I mean, how would you know in this day and age? Who knows? Who knows? So we're going to wait for this slide deck to generate, but that's basically how you can do it, right? You can, whilst you're waiting as well, you can actually create another slide deck, but you can edit it. And then let's say, for example, you wanted to present something like this to maybe your team or people in your company, etc. And then you can just type that here, right? So for example, you could say, okay, I want to create a slide, a presentation about how to use OpenClaw for personal productivity, right? Something like that. You can switch between short, default, and long. You can actually change the language over here. You can switch between presenter slides, so like clean visual slides with key talking points, or like a comprehensive deck with full text and details, right? So if we start on present the slides, it's going to create that slide deck based on the personal productivity theme that we gave it, and then it will generate it over here. And then you can just rename this to, for example, like OpenClaw guide, right? And this takes a few minutes to generate. So what you can do in the meantime is just click on these, and that will generate all of those different things all at the same time in parallel whilst you go off and do something else, right? So it's just running in the background. And then you can see you've got the OpenClaw guide here. So if we go back to anti-gravity, we've now got the newly revised version of the slide deck based on the edits I gave it. And you can see here it's used the brand colors, which I inserted earlier. I asked it for it to be cleaner with just one direct response style headline. And it's done that right here, right? So it says transform static pages into an interactive experiences in minutes, leverage the Goldie gravity method and Claude code, right? And then it's redesigned just that one single page that we gave edits to and kept everything the same because we didn't give it any other changes for the rest of the slides, right? Pretty nice. And then if you want to revise that again, you can just go through the whole process. So that's basically how it works. Really cool feature. NotebookLM is just getting better and better. It's a really powerful tool. They haven't created that many updates if you compare this to all the other stuff that's come out this year. I know NotebookLM were releasing new updates all the time last year, but I think they're speeding things up now and improving. So it's way better than it used to be. Right? So if you want to learn more about this stuff, we've got a full guide right here. But yeah, you know, if you're a solopreneur or someone who creates a lot of content, sends proposals, builds courses, or runs any kind of business where you need slides, this is really powerful, right? And you can basically turn any document, video, link, or set of notes into a fully built, beautifully designed presentation using just a prompt, right? You don't need to be able to design. You don't need any Canva subscriptions. You don't need to hire a designer. You don't need to spend 3 hours on a deck that looks like it was made in 2009. And using this process, you can just export it and then, you know, go straight into it. And you can use this for free, right? And so the old way was like you would spend hours researching the topic manually, opening up Canva or PowerPoint and start from scratch, manually typing out every single word, hiring a designer to make it look good, exporting it, realizing the formatting is broken, and then trying again, still ending up with something that looks quite generic and forgettable. And the whole process would take like 4 to 8 hours minimum, right? The new process is like you just upload your sources to NotebookLM, like I showed you today, or you can get them to find their own sources like we did. You can click generate slides, review the deck, type a prompt to revise it. So for example, like make section 3 a flowchart or reorder the main point so it comes first, export it, and then boom shakalaka, you're done in minutes, not hours, as you've seen already today, right? Now, we've got a question here that says, what's NotebookLM used for compared to just Gemini alone? So the difference here is like when you're using something like NotebookLM, it's really like a media platform, right? So you can generate videos, you can generate slideshows, you can generate audio and podcasts, and you can't really do that as well inside something like Gemini. The other thing that's really powerful for is learning, right? So for example, you can create these podcasts where you learn new stuff and interesting stuff and that sort of thing. You can, for example, create multiple notebooks that are all organized like this and then just come back to them quickly, right? Really powerful. You can share these notebooks with other people. Whereas, for example, if you're using something like Gemini, it's not as well organized for this. It's not designed really for media creation. It's more for like coding and just getting quick answers like a chatbot. Whereas you look at something like this and it can generate all these cool different types of media in like one click, right? And you can see, for example, we've now got the infographic ready. So it generated this infographic. It's got, for example, the slideshow generating over here. We have the data table. So it creates a data table. So it has all these features that you can't really do in such an automated way using Gemini directly. So the way that I would look at this is like, it's great for example, any type of slides or presentations you create. Sales decks, course modules, workshop content, webinar presentations, client reports, training materials for your team. Every single one of those used to be quite time consuming to use. Now you can just create something in minutes. And it's a competitive advantage if you know how to use this properly. You know, for example, for me, from our SEO agency, we could create a slide deck for our agency. We could create a welcome deck for people who join my AI automation community, the AI Profit Boardroom. You could, for example, create like you could turn YouTube videos into a slide deck as well. You can just load that as a source, right? I've actually got a 30-day plan inside the AI Profit Boardroom for implementing this day by day. So if you want to check out the prompts and the ways that you can use this in 30 different ways and just really master this over the course of 30 days, you've got a full plan right there, which is pretty amazing. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Now, you know, the old belief was that slide tools are for designers. I'm not a designer, I'll mess it up, etc. Honestly, the new empowering belief is like the tool does the technical work. Your job is just to know what outcome you want. That's the skill that matters now. Other people say, well, this looks low quality compared to something a designer made. And the old belief was like AI generated slides always look basic or generic and clients will know, right? But the difference here is like quality comes from your thinking and inputs. The tool handles the design. That's the upgrade, right? So you can quickly create beautiful designs that are better than most humans can do using NotebookLM instead, right? Other people say, well, I already use Canva and PowerPoint. Why do I need another tool? But this is an automation. And, you know, your old tool that you were using was like a starting line, but this tool is a head start. And the solopreneur who moves fastest usually wins. right? So if you want to get everything from today, you can get that inside the AI Profit Boardroom. We've also got 100 prompts that you can test out with NotebookLM, as you can see right here for design and visual stuff, structure and flow, comparing and copywriting, even like application prompts and all sorts of things right there. But just to recap, NotebookLM has dropped two of its most requested features, right? Prompt-based slide revisions and also being able to edit video overviews inside the mobile app, right? This means you can now take any document, video, link, or audio, turn it into a full slide deck, edit it by typing what you want changed, and export it as a real PowerPoint file, which is really cool. In terms of the slide engine framework and what we covered, we've talked about what NotebookLM is and how to use it, the old way versus the new way of building slides, why you should care. So, it's useful for sales decks, lead magnets, course modules, client reports, and webinars. And then also, um, you've got demos on screen to use this as well, right? We've also talked about a 30-day plan, and we've looked at some of the limited beliefs and that sort of thing. So if you want to get all the video notes from today and a full video tutorial on how this works, etc., you can get this inside the AI Profit Boardroom. This is my AI automation community focused on saving you time, helping you scale, and using AI automation to really grow your business. Now, inside the community, we have 2,400 members. So you can ask questions, you can get help and support, you can meet really cool people, you can learn and grow with this stuff. You can also join our daily accountability group, like you can see. And if we check out the win section here, you can see all sorts of stuff that people are using to grow with this, right? So for example, Scott created a winning presentation using AI. You've got, for example, Eric, who said he's becoming the most efficient person in his network using the updates from the AI Profit Boardroom. And you've got even, for example, like Daniel, who's like creating some awesome like music and videos and that sort of thing. So feel free to get all of this training inside the AI Profit Boardroom. It also comes with video coaching, so you can jump on live calls each week, ask questions, etc. And then also inside the classroom, you can get all of my best training. So for example, you can go from beginner to expert with AI automation and learn how to build your first AI agent in under 5 minutes. You can also get my best trainings and all the best playbooks that we use. So for example, we show you how we automate X, newsletters, shorts, Instagram, and AI avatar videos, and you get video tutorials right here. We update this daily with new guides. So for example, every time there's a useful new update like you've seen today, we create a full guide on this, a 30-day plan, examples how to use it, and a custom framework for implementing this stuff. And we update it every single day. So for example, we've added 2 guides today, 4 guides yesterday, etc., with video tutorials and full step-by-step guides right here. All right. And we've got a full course on how to use OpenClaw. If you want to get more agency clients, we've got a section right there. If you want to watch about the coaching calls, you can do that there. If you want to learn how to rank #1 inside Google and AI search engines, you can check out the AI SEO automation section. And then also we've got a full roadmap on how to grow your YouTube channel with AI based on what's working for me. So feel free to get that link in the comments description or go to the AIProfitBoardroom.com. And by the way, we've got that presentation back now on OpenClaw. So this is the slideshow that it actually automated whilst we were talking. So you can see an example of what it looks like right here. It's custom designed it. It's taken all the information that we gave it and created this pretty awesome presentation. We also got the evolution example right here. So it talks about other stuff as well. I think honestly, this presentation is way better, but you get the point. You can always generate multiple ones if you don't like the first one. Jason says, can I load up a bunch of information about myself and what I do in my business and create a video that I can present to clients? Absolutely. That's what it's great for, right? So you can insert loads of information that's interesting about you and your business inside a new notebook, and then it will create a presentation for you. So that's a perfect use case, Jason. Gemini Pro 3.1 versus Claude Sonnet 4.6. Who wins? So Google just dropped a Gemini 3.1 Pro, and people are losing their minds saying it beats everything. But here's what nobody's talking about. Claude Sonnet is quietly crushing it where it actually matters for real work. And today we're going to be comparing them side by side, putting them head to head right here, right now with my actual prompts. We're going to throw the same tasks at both of them and see which one of them gives us the better answers, which one works the fastest, etc. We'll be looking at like different stuff like tools, apps, games, just comparing them. We're not going to be looking at benchmarks so much, although we can touch on that, but I just don't think they're as useful. It's just testing them side by side and seeing which one performs the best. So you can see here we've got Claude over here, and we have Gemini 3.1 Pro. If you want to get started with using Gemini 3.1 Pro, just go to Gemini and then you can select Pro right here. And then if you want to use Claude Sonnet 4.6, this is available for free. Just go to Claude AI and we can compare them side by side and see which one performs the best. So we're going to kick this off with a fun little game to build. So we're going to run the same task on both and we'll see which one gives us the best outputs. So just important to note here, always select Canvas inside Gemini if you want to see a live preview of what you're building. Inside Claude, it will automatically build the artifact. So let's run and see which one does the best. So you can see them beginning to build out now. We can also check them out on OpenRouter to see how they perform. So you've got Anthropic over here, and you can compare this side by side with Gemini 3.1 Pro. And you can see the differences here. So you've got Claude Sonnet 4.6 and Gemini 3.1 Pro, and the context length is slightly higher for Gemini 3.1 Pro. They're both reasoning models. Gemini is actually a lot cheaper in terms of pricing, as you can see. So this is Claude's pricing versus Gemini's. And then also there's a lot more input modalities on Gemini as well. Right, so you've got audio, file, image, text, video, whereas with Claude Sonnet 4.6, you've got text and image. So let's go back and see how they're performing. So they're both pretty much finished at the same time. This is the version from Claude 4.6, which is pretty cool. And then this is the example from Gemini. Now, actually, to be fair, if I was comparing them side by side, I would say this is a more playable game, more interesting game from Gemini. Whereas, for example, it's pretty hard to play that Sonnet game, and it just didn't quite work as smoothly. Although the graphics are better on Claude Sonnet 4.6, right? So let's try and play this one again. It's almost impossible to control. Whereas the Gemini one is a lot more interesting and a lot more playable. So I would say on the first round, and let's put them in a list. So round one. Gemini one. Let's move on to the next prompt. Jose says, "You the truth, bro. Keep going. Thank you very much, sir." I appreciate that. Let's see what else we got here. Now we're going to create a Pong game. So Pong, but the paddles get faster every 10 seconds until it's physically impossible. I will say both of them coded out pretty quickly. I was impressed by that. Sometimes, you know, with the old versions, it took ages to run this sort of stuff. So I do like that. Do you ever use the visual cards that Google Flow creates from your Nano Banana prompts? Not something, I don't really use Google Flow that much, honestly, these days, but I did like it the first time I tested out Google Flow. I thought it was pretty cool. Look how much faster Gemini Pro is, by the way, whereas Claude Sonnet is still coding out. And then we've got the game here. And you can see that it's got the 10-second loading time at the top. So we're already playing. Oh, it's getting fast now. Wow. This is crazy. It's a pretty fun game, actually. Whoa. All right. Yeah, I'm going to say that Gemini is crushing it here, but it's going to be hard to beat that. Let's see what Claude Sonnet does. What is this, mate? There's not even a paddle. Is that 'cause it's not full screen? Let's try and test it out full screen. Oh, there we go. But it's not playing against a computer. Like, you have to control both, which doesn't make sense. It doesn't have the countdown either. So I'm going to say that Gemini won on that again. Honestly, like, number one, it's not really mobile friendly. Number two, it's not as playable. Number three, I have to play both people, which it doesn't make any sense, right? I should be playing against a computer. So for that prompt as well, Gemini crushes. So 2 out of 2 for Gemini. So now we're going to build a star field simulator, infinite zooming stars, like warp speed, adjustable speed slider. Let's try that. The other thing that I do find a little bit annoying with Canvas, with Claude Sonnet 4.6 is like, it's just, I feel like I'm constantly battling with the weekly limits. Like, and that might be just because I use it so much, but it is kind of annoying. Bear in mind as well, Gemini won on speed so far, and again, it's won on speed here too. And look at that, that's cool. All right, so we've got the star simulator, and then you can change the speed. Whereas Claude Sonnet is still messing around with that. That's crazy. That looks crazy. I like it though. So let's see what we get back from Claude now. To be fair, that looks really cool. I want to say this looks way more interesting than Gemini's version. Let me know in the chat as well which one you prefer. Be interested to know which one everyone is using right now. For most stuff, day-to-day for work, I'll use Claude, but I think it's just because I've locked in the habit, right? And even just switching from ChatGPT to Claude, it took a while to train my brain on making sure that I use Claude instead. But I would say that for sure, Claude Sonnet won on this one. If we haven't both running full speed, that is crazy stuff. Yeah. So out of 3, Gemini's won 2 so far, and Claude won the 3rd one. Now we're going to build out a website using both. So we're going to take this information for the AI Profit Boardroom. Also, one thing to be careful of here is just making sure that you select Pro. I just want to go back there. Did we use Pro on that? Ah, look at that. We used Fast instead. I'm just going to switch to Pro for Gemini. So Gemini might still win this. Let's see what we get. Just be careful of that. So when you start a new task, Gemini seems to switch to Flash and Fast automatically. So let's try this out. Wow, that's crazy. But I would still say that Claude created a better output. So Claude still wins on that. All right, task number 4. Let's create the website. So we're going to take the website info like this, plug it into Canvas, make sure we got Pro selected. I'm going to say create a beautiful website with this content for my AI Profit Boardroom community. Make it beautiful, modern, interesting, and dopamine inducing. And then we'll put the brand colors as well. We'll do the same inside Claude. See what we get back. Guy says, it seems agent hooks are engaging far better with Sonnet 4.6 with my short experiences. That's interesting. Well, just to be clear there, when you just be 100% clear here, when you say agent hooks, what are you referring to? So Gemini has created the page. It's looking pretty nice, to be fair. Look at that. Let's get a shareable link for that. I am going to add like a little metric for speed. And I'll say that Gemini wins here on every single task that we've tried here. So this is the website for the AI Profit Boardroom from Gemini. It's looking pretty nice, pretty clean. It's still not as nice as the website that I already have out, but that did take a little bit of back and forth. So I don't expect it to be amazing straight out of the box, but it's looking good. Let's go back to Claude now, and we'll wait for that to load too. Claude is actually taking that long that I'm tempted to just set up the next test. But we've got it back now, so let's have a look here. Oh, it is looking better. I think it is looking more interesting. Which one do you prefer, peeps? If you're looking at that, I think that looks way cooler, right? Look at that. It's got the more interesting animations at the top. The font itself is more interesting. It took a bit longer, but the design just looks nicer. And that's more of a work related sort of task, right? So Gemini was great at creating games and fun stuff like that. But for a work related task like creating a website, for sure, Claude is won by a long way there. It did take about 2 or 3 times as long, but created something better. So, you can't complain with that. So, website creation, Claude. Claude might be pulling it back here. So, just to recap, Gemini won both game challenges. It won on speed. But Claude created the best Starfield simulator and it created the best website. So we're going to do one final task here. And then if it's a draw, we'll have to do a final challenge as well. But it's 2 and 3. So Gemini is scoring 3 so far. Claude Sonnet is scoring 2. And this is a really good point here. So Gemini's speed is insane, but Claude seems to deliver better graphics and design. 100% agree with that. That's what I'm seeing too. Yeah, I think that's a great point. So we're going to plug in this prompt for generating content. And I'll just get a transcript from one of my YouTube videos. Let's plug this in. We'll see which one creates the best SEO content. So whilst that's creating the content, as you can see over here, and you can see actually, this is interesting. So Claude has actually generated the article faster than Gemini. And the content itself looks pretty nice, right? It feels humanized. Honestly, it feels better than what most humans I know could create. So you can see here it's created the headline, it's created a nice little hook, etc. It feels a lot more interesting. If we have a look at this one, look at the way it's formatted, the way it reads, etc. It almost looks like a poem, right? Like, look at the way that's written. Doesn't feel natural, doesn't look human, just kind of looks like an AI has generated it, even just the way it's formatted. And then if you look at the actual way that it's written, doesn't look quite as nice. Whereas if you look at the content from Claude, you see how it's like written in different styles, um, different variants in like the length of the headlines, etc. The way that the headlines are formatted as well just feels a lot more interesting. Whereas this one feels really like AI. So I think for the writing task as well, we're going to put Claude wins on writing too. So it's 3 out of 3 for both of them, right? You've got Gemini winning the game generation and also speed. You've got Claude generating a better simulator, a better website, and better writing. So I think for just work tasks in general, I would stick to using something like Claude over Gemini. Let's try the final task here. So we're going to build a Pomodoro timer app, and we'll plug this in like so. Plug that in, and then we'll see which one performs the best. This is the final round to see who wins. So this is the timer from Gemini 3.1 Pro. It's basic, but it's pretty cool, right? So it's got a fire emoji for the amount of sessions you do in a row. You can initiate, halt it. I like the neon design, etc. The text is kind of messy inside the circle, but all the buttons work. So it's all coming down to Claude here. So here we go. I think Claude's won it. Look at that. It looks nicer. Fire emoji at the top. The text falls perfectly in line with the circle, whereas this one overlaps and looks a bit messy. We've got multiple different options. Even just the way that's animated. So you see, like, this is quite basic in the way that it counts down, whereas this one is super animated. You can pause, you can skip. It's got a nice little, look at this as well. Like, it's got a nice little background as well. And then if we pause this and click on skip, it gives us the confetti animation. This one doesn't. So I'm going to say Claude won on that one as well, which means Claude won the whole challenge. It clawed its way back. Terrible pun there, but you get the point. So I also think just for work, you know, if you're trying to do anything serious here, you would just go with Claude anyway. It just seems way better overall. The guy says top tier model versus second tier model. Not sure what you mean, but feel free to ask. Or do you mean that, for example, Claude is top tier and Gemini is second tier? And the Mandalorian says, thank you so much, Julian. You're the man all the way from South Africa. Great to see you here. Thank you very much for joining and watching today. I appreciate it. So thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, feel free to check out my AI Profit Boardroom community. This is an amazing community that shows you how to save time, scale your business, and grow with AI automation based on what's working for me and 2,400 members. Inside the community, you can ask any questions, you can get help and support. There's always people online, so you can ask questions and meet cool people anytime you want to. Inside the community, you can also see that it's not just me winning with AI, right? So there's all sorts of people just creating awesome stuff with this. For example, like Alexander and his prompts here. You got, for example, Scott creating amazing presentations. You've got Eric, who says he's now become the most efficient person in his network. Stephen created his 30-day YouTube channel challenge and completed it with AI. So it's pretty amazing. And so many people winning and learning with this stuff and growing all the time. So if you want to learn from this, feel free to get the AI Profit Boardroom, link in the comments description. Inside the calendar, you can jump on live coaching calls 4 times a week, share your screen, meet cool people, jump on a live call, ask any questions you have. Inside the classroom here, you can actually get full guides on Claude 4.6 Sonnet. I've done a full guide with a 30-day roadmap for learning Claude, plus a full video tutorial on it right here. If you want to learn Gemini 3.1 Pro, we also have a full video tutorial on that right there, along with a full guide and a 30-day plan of mastering that too. Plus 100 prompts for both of them. We also have a full course on how to learn OpenClaw. It's a 6-hour course. You can learn and get a full guide on how to set it up, plus all our best use cases. And we update this community daily, like you can see. So every single day we add new guides based on what I think is the most valuable for you. So for example, today we've added 2 new guides on NotebookLM and OpenClaw. Yesterday we added 4 new guides on the new Manus Agents update and compared that versus OpenClaw, Google Anti-Gravity, Gemini 3.1, the new OpenClaw update, etc. We just update this all the time with all the cool stuff that I like, right? You can also get all my best playbooks for growing my business. So for example, I've got a playbook on Twitter, how I automate newsletters, shorts, how to automate Instagram, AI avatar videos, etc. And then if you want to watch back the coaching calls, you can do that here. If you want to learn how to get more clients, you can check that out. If you want to learn how to rank #1 inside Google and AI search engines, you can check that out right here. And also, if you want to learn how to grow a YouTube channel with AI based on what's working for me, feel free to get that as well. So that's all inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comments description, or just go to aiprofitboardroom.com. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it as always, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye-bye.